Shalom, shalom. Giving all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Kakadash, double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone, all well. And shalom to you, Akim, teaching this word around the globe with faith and truth and sincerity. I am the brother Caleb from the GMS London Forecasters Camp, coming back at you with another lesson to help edify the Lord's elect. As always, I like to begin by saying that we are the real Hebrew Israelites, the real Israelites, these so-called Negroes, Latinos, Hispanics, Native Americans, West Indians, and West Africans predominantly. However, you are going to find Israelites that look like the other nations because we as a people have been scattered amongst all nations throughout our various captivities. But if your sea line by your forefathers goes back to the man in the Bible that was named Israel, then you too are an Israelite no matter what you may look like. Because the book of Numbers chapter 1 and 18 clearly states that your nationality is determined by the lineage of your forefathers. So I'm just going to do a little lesson here on a topic I was meditating on. Well, I've been meditating on this topic ever since we last held camp on Saturday. This story has been floating around in the back of my mind. And, I've really been reflecting on it a lot, quietly, just to myself. But then I thought to myself, you know what, man, let me do a little lesson and talk about this, because this is an example of what we are being prepared for. Now, what the Most High Yahweh and Yahushai are preparing us members of the hopeful elect for is for judgment. Because if we are indeed of the hopeful elect, we are going to be part of the governing body of the kingdom of heaven, which the kingdom of heaven is going to be established on earth, and the Israelites are going to be ruling that kingdom. Now, it's going to start with, the Most High Yahweh, then his son Yahushai, then you're going to have King David, then you're going to have the other 12 disciples, then you're going to have the 144,000 elect men of the nation Israel. That's going to form the governing body of the whole world, basically, the whole universe, in fact. So we're going to be put in positions of power and authority and judgment. Now, the reason why I've been thinking about this story is because this is a great example of what it means to be a righteous judge. Because King Solomon, when he was a child, he prayed for wisdom, and Yahweh was pleased with his request, and so he granted Solomon great wisdom. Now, this story is from 1 Kings, the 3rd chapter, and this story was recorded in the scriptures because this is an example of a great judgment, a great wise judgment that was made by King Solomon. And if you can receive it, King Solomon is Yahushai in the reincarnation. So I'm going to read this story, and the reason why I'm reading this story is because the point I want to make is that all of the trials and tribulations that we've gone through in our lives has all been to prepare us for being able to be great judges, like King Solomon was in this account. So let me read it. 1 Kings 3 from verse 16. Then came there 2 women that were harlots unto the king and stood before him. So 2 harlots came and stood before King Solomon. And the one woman said, O my lord, I and this woman dwell in one house, and I was delivered of a child with her in the house. And it came to pass in the 3rd day after that I was delivered, that this woman was delivered also, and we were together, and there was no stranger with us in the house, save we 2 in the house. So these 2 harlots, they lived together, both of them became pregnant around the similar time, and they both gave birth to their children around a similar time. And this woman's child died in the night because she overlaid it, right? So basically the baby suffocated, I believe that means overlaid. Accidentally suffocate the baby in the night because she overlaid it. And she arose at midnight and took my son from beside me, and while thine handmaid slept, and laid it in her bosom, and laid her dead child in my bosom. So what this woman done basically was a bait and switch. Her child died. So in her wickedness, because remember the scriptures do say all wickedness is but little to the wickedness of a woman, she took her dead baby and put it in the other woman's arms and stole her living baby, okay? And when I arose in the morning to give my child suck, behold, it was dead. But when I had considered it in the morning, behold, it was not my son which I did bear. And the other woman said, Nay, but the living is my son, and the dead is thy son. And this said, No, but the dead is thy son, and the living is my son. Thus they spoke before the king. So as you can see, this is quite a contentious situation. Then said the king, the one saith, This is my son that liveth, and the son is dead. And the other saith, Nay, but thy son is dead, and my son is the living. And the king said, Bring me a sword. Now here's an example of Solomon's wise judgment, right? And the king said, Bring me a sword. And they brought a sword before the king. And the king said, Divide the living child in two, and give half to the one and half to the other. Then spake the woman whose the living child was unto the king, for her bowels yearned upon her son. And she said, O my lord, give her the living child, and in no wise slay it. But the other said, Let it be neither mine nor thine, but divide it. See the wickedness of the woman? Then the king answered and said, Give her the living child, and in no wise slay it, she is the mother thereof. And all Israel heard of the judgment which the king had judged, and they feared the king, for they saw that the wisdom of the Most High was in him to do judgment. Now, that sounds like a very grievous thing. The king threatened to cut the child in half, to essentially kill the baby and divide it between the two of them. But King Solomon's intention was never to kill the baby, but more to reveal the truth. So by him having an austere judgment, saying, look, we're going to cut the baby in half and divide it between these two quarreling women, the woman whose child it really was, her bowels yearned for her child because she didn't want to see it die. So she said, no, please don't slay the child, give it to the woman. But the wicked woman said, okay, let neither of us have it. So that revealed the heart and the intent of the true mother. And that was a beautiful, righteous judgment. So the point I'm making is that all of our life experiences that we're going through, all of the adversities and hardships that we've endured in this life and lifetimes past, is to prepare us to be in such positions of judgment, to be able to get to to be able to discern a situation and get to the heart of a matter. And let me find another few precepts. Yeah. Leviticus 19 verse 15. This says, And ye shall do no unrighteousness in judgment. Thou shalt not respect the person of the poor, nor honour the person of the mighty, but in righteousness shalt thou judge thy neighbour. Right? Deuteronomy 1 and verse 16. This says, And I charged your judges at that time, saying, Hear the cause between your brethren, and judge righteously between every man and his brother, and the stranger that is with him. Ye shall respect no persons in judgment, but ye shall hear the small as well as the great. Ye shall not be afraid of the face of man, for the judgment is the Most High's, and the cause that is too hard for you, bring it unto me, and I will hear it. Right? That was Moses, because Moses was judging the nation at the time, and his father-in-law, was it Jethro? I think his father-in-law Jethro was telling him to set up judges, and the most difficult matters Moses himself should judge. But the fact of the matter is that we're supposed to judge things with righteous judgment. In order to do that, we need to have wisdom. I've got to get one more precept here. Proverbs 29 and verse 2. Close out on this one. This says, when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice, but when the wicked beareth rule, the people mourn. There you go. When the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice, but when the wicked beareth rule, the people mourn. So right now we're living under a wicked rule. Esau's not a fit ruler. Esau's not a sound judge, and that's why there's so much wickedness on the earth. But when the kingdom of heaven is established, when Yahushua returns, we're going to be righteous judges. Lord willing, we be of the hopeful elect. So just a quick lesson on a topic I've been thinking about in the back of my mind, and the Spirit just said to me, do a lesson on this. So yeah, there it is, man. But that's a great story of wise judgment. Lord willing, we can all be so wise as Solomon was in the times to come. We should always be praying for more wisdom, more discernment, because the Most High is the power of knowledge, man. You can't be ignorant in things. And when the kingdom's set up in earth, we're going to have to judge great matters, small matters and great matters, and we're going to have to execute the law accordingly. And that's the role of being a member of the hopeful elect, to be the part of the governing body of the kingdom of heaven. So with that, giving all praises, honor and glory unto Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushai B'Hashem HaKadosh. Double honors to the elders and apostles, the great millstone that rule well, and shalom to all of you Akim around the world teaching this word in faith and truth and sincerity. And until the next lesson, I do Lord willing, I'll say shalom and a bol and kwam yasharala. Shalom for now.